Fort Worth, Texas. We're going to find a perfect house. I'm telling you right now, we're going to find that perfect house in Fort Worth, Texas. That is the city that we're addressing today. Now, this is a series that we like to do across the DFW Metroplex. This series has taken a life of its own. We're finding some very interesting real estate, but at the end of the day, we're finding the perfect real estate. In this particular case, we're looking at Fort Worth. So what we're going to do in our roadmap is very, very simple. We're going to pretty much assume that we're going to purchase a house in Fort Worth, and we're going to go through all of the steps that are required in terms of finding that perfect home. Now, beyond contracting and things of that nature, we have other videos on this channel that cover that. So right now it's more about searching and finding that property, because oftentimes we find that there's a ton of overwhelm, ton of questions on how do we actually look for homes? How can we identify those homes that are either undervalued, or how can we start calculating what we're going to pay in mortgage? So we're going to answer all those questions up front. In order for us to do that, we're going to start off where a lot of home searches begin, which is the online portals. Now, if you're with Zillow, if you're with Trulia, if you're with Realtor.com and like those platforms, that's awesome. That's great. Stay on them. But what we're going to use is we're going to use the website that is directly tied to the MLS, and it is my website. So it's Jaime Resendiz.exprealty.com. So feel free to check that out. And we also did include a list of preferred homes already for your benefit. How convenient, in Fort Worth, down in the live chat. So hopefully you can see it there, but you'll also see it pinned in the first comment and in the description down below if you have any questions. So let's begin. Fort Worth, Texas. That is one of my favorite spots. I am there quite a bit, usually running on a trail, going to a coffee shop, going to a restaurant, and or just walking around. Fort Worth is legit. So we're going to buy a house there because we want to not commute as much. All right, so as you can see, there's a lot of Fort Worth. And in Fort Worth, the city of Fort Worth right now has 4,100 listings. Can you believe that? Fort Worth is massive. It's the second largest city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's in the name, next to Dallas. So at this point, Fort Worth should have something like 700,000 people. Should have quite a bit, or 600. How much, what's the population? Because I know population of Fort Worth, because I know Dallas has over, oh wow, it's about to hit 1 million. No way. Wow, that's a lot. Here I was I was way behind. Okay, I was back in 2012. My lord. Okay, so it's about to hit 1 million. How crazy is that? Anyway, 4,100 homes for sale, or properties is a better way of saying it, because it includes condos, multifamily, commercial, land, town houses, leases, farm and ranch. So we're going to delete that, and we're going to only look at single family residences for our search. Again, we're going to go into different price points. We're going to look at different areas, and as you can see, Fort Worth has, a lot of people don't realize this, but Fort Worth has tentacles. Fort Worth, what you would consider Fort Worth proper, if you will, is within 820, but it's a little bit unique to where it really stretches out into almost octopus arms here, where over here you wouldn't have expected Fort Worth to be all the way up here towards Roanoke, but it is. And you also don't expect it to be past Burleson, which it is, and then into Arlington. So it really gets into everybody's business. Every other city around is saying, what the back up Fort Worth. Back up Fort Worth. Why can't you be like Dallas? Because they stay in their lane. Dallas is pretty much just in here. But with that being said, Fort Worth, as far as geography, the mass, if you will, or the size of it, it's quite sizable. So it surrounds Hazlet, it surrounds Saginaw. A lot of people don't realize that. You have it surrounding White Settlement, Benbrook, and but we'll keep going. One of the things that I do like to call out right at the beginning, whenever we're searching for a home, is the three main things, or three big things that come up whenever you're searching for a home that you need to address before anything happens, is your commute. What type of commute are you looking for in the area that you're searching for? So this often comes up whenever you're relocating to a brand new area. You might not know too much about Fort Worth. You might not know too much about it outside of, hey, I have a job in, let's say I got an offer in Irving. Does Fort Worth make sense? Right? So then, well, one of the first things that you need to ask yourself, what type of commute am I looking for? What type of commute can I expect? Now, if you live within Fort Worth, even just if you live in Fort Worth, you still have to make a commute decision, given that, as you can see, it's vast. If you live up here towards Elizabethtown, there towards the Texas Motor Speedway, you still have a commute coming downtown. So you're looking at, if things are going well, you're looking at about an 18-minute commute to downtown Fort Worth. But if things are not going well, it could easily transform into a 45-minute to an hour commute, especially as you're coming in through this little bottleneck right here that ends up happening right around 8:20. Right? So commute, something that you absolutely need to answer for yourself. What type of commute am I looking for? So that's number one. Number two is, what type of lifestyle am I looking for? Am I a lake person? Well, I might want to look over here close to Lake Worth. My apologies. So this might be a little bit closer to your scene. So here in the northwest side of the town, it makes better sense. Now, if you want to check out Lake Arlington on the southeast side of town, you can also do that. Same with Benbrook Lake. So again, if you're a lake person, well, it would make sense for you to be there. It comes down to the type of lifestyle that you're looking for. If you're the type of person that wants to hit up a coffee shop every other Tuesday, well, you might want to be a little bit closer to downtown, right? If you like every type of restaurant known to man, you might want to hang around here on West 7th. West 7th today I'm struggling with words, has a lot of options for you, and you're going to find a lot of options here on Camp Bowie as well. So again, these are more lifestyle questions. These are more the questions of, what am I going to do beyond the four walls of my home? So number one, what commute do we need or are we looking to have? Number two, what type of lifestyle am I pursuing? And then number three is the budget. How much can I afford? Is Fort Worth affordable for at least my budget? And I believe we saw that there was over 4,000 properties available for sale, and well, it really came down to 3,000 homes available for sale, and the average price point was somewhere around the 400,000s. And the least expensive home right now, so again, those three things, by all means, you have to really establish those as quickly as you can. What's my community to look like? What type of lifestyle am I looking for? And what type of budget am I looking for? That's all information that you can address before having to call anybody, right? So oftentimes we have that reservation of, I don't want to call that realtor, I don't want to call that lender, I don't want to call that X, Y, and Z person, because they're gonna force me to register, sign in, sign this thing, do this thing. So that commitment just doesn't exist. So as long as you answer those three questions for yourself, or looking at get close to answering those three questions for yourself, you're going to be in a really good spot. And all of that is information without you having to reach out to anybody under the sun. Now, with that being said, let's check out some homes, because what we're going to do is we're going to look at the different homes available for sale at the moment. And then we're going to make a calculation based off of one of the homes right around the average price point, right? So we're going to look at what the real estate prices end up let me exclude myself. We're going to see the real estate that's available for sale right now, so you get a sense of what Fort Worth real estate is all about. So as you can see, the least expensive home on the market right now for Fort Worth, believe it or not, is $105,000. Now, this is what we call an investor special. You're buying this property because you either plan to tear it down and rebuild from scratch, or do a ton of rebuilding altogether. So this is not uncommon for the area. So if you're looking to invest, and this is something that you're comfortable with, you have a lot of options here in Fort Worth. There's a lot of opportunities for you to purchase a home. I mean, you're still under $150,000 and rehab it and make it your own. So we're at $150,000, $155,000. So again, these are what we call investor specials. That's all day long. That's what you're going to find. Now, generally, if you are a first-time home buyer, or if you're looking to purchase a home and want to essentially buy it and be ready to move in, investor specials are not going to be your type of real estate. So the type of real estate that you're most likely looking for when it comes to Fort Worth, you're probably looking around the 220s, 250,000s before you stumble across properties that you're going to be ready to go with. So this one looks like it's a rehab property. All right, so you see a lot of pier and beam properties at the moment. You're not seeing a ton of slab properties, which you will hear shortly. But at this price point, you're looking at that type of real estate at the moment. It has a lot of siding, doesn't have as much brick around it. All right, so you're starting to see a different type of real estate come up. And we're still well under $200,000. We're still well under that, which, as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity. But again, most of the opportunities that you're seeing here are going to be really primed for investments. So let's go into more of a mid-price point and then start exploring that type of real estate. All right, so we're looking at the 250s. So in the 250s, you're going to see more homes that are going to be traditionally ready to go in terms of when you purchase. You're not looking at doing an entire gut job. You're not looking to remake or redo the entire property. Now let's get into the 300s real quick. This will get us close. Now we're not gonna spend all the time just looking through all these listings, because that would be impossible. There's about 4,000 properties here. But what we're doing right now is just getting a good sense of what the price point, what the price is bringing us when it comes to properties. Now I'm going to accelerate the process a little bit, and we're going to go to the luxury part of Fort Worth just to see what that looks like, a little bit of eye candy before we start breaking down the numbers and provide different financing options for the purchase of this Fort Worth home. So let's see what the most expensive home for sale is. Oh, it has so many, right? Okay. So here's what we got to do. Since it has so many, it broke the search. So what we have to do, it's very rare that this happens. This happens mostly with not mostly, like it happens with bigger searches, bigger cities. So we're going to say that the median price that we're going to look for in Fort Worth is $1 million, so the minimum price. So that leaves us 112 properties to look at. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the most expensive one, because again, that was our desire real quick. We wanted to show the luxury part of Fort Worth. So the most expensive home for sale right now in the city of Fort Worth is almost $15 million. Wow. Let's look at it. And then we're going to do the breakdown on the property. But first we want to get inspired. We want to see what's going on. We want to see what $15 million buys you in Fort Worth. Is this where I think it is? It's not where I thought it was. Interesting. Okay. All right, so let's check it out. All right, so it looks like you have multiple buildings, unless that's not part of it, but let's see what it ends up being. We're going to go very, very quickly, but we want to get an idea of what type of property we're looking at. This looks like a little bit of Oriental style. Seeing a lot of that. See a lot of wood. Clean finishes. You have your master bedroom, your primary bath, entertainment area. So this must have a lot of land next to it, or a lot of land available. Now, don't mishear me. The property is beautiful. Do not mishear me. The property is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot of wood in this property. Now, I can really appreciate the patio. The patio looks nice. You have a lot of windows. You have your little, not little, you have your, okay, you have a sauna. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I could use one of those. All right, so yeah, it's a horse property. Makes sense. Hope the horses come with it. Check out the stable. Okay. What's that? 8 stalls? And they're roomy too. For a little wash. Okay. Very nice. And this is that other house that we saw. So this is the guest house. What a spot. What a spot. Let's see how much acreage you get. How much acres do we get? Well, we'll see it over here real quick. 50 acres. So if you're looking for 50 acres right outside of Fort Worth, this is it. This is it. All right, so let's stop dreaming for a quick second. Let's come back to reality. Let's find a property in a mid-price point so we can do our calculation, because we got to get to work. We're finding a perfect property in the Fort Worth area. So we're going to go between 450 and 550 before we do the calculation. All right, so let's check out these properties real quick. All right, we have to select one of these properties that we're going to do a breakdown on and we're going to purchase. So I like this. I like this one. There's something about the stone up front. This one also is pretty nice. So which one do we want to go with? Do we want to go with, yeah, it's going to be one of these two. Do we want to go with the one that has 2,100 square feet, or do we want to go with the 2743? Let's go with the 2743. And we're going to look at some details real quick, and then we're going to look at the property itself just to see what it, you know what? Now let's look at the property first. We usually don't do it in this order. So let's look at the property first. And let's check it out. All right, so we have what is a two-story. Oops. All right, so we have some stone. It looks like this is a newer home. If I had to guess, it's probably 2018, 2019. A lot of that guess has to do with just the finish for sure, but really a lot of the telltale signs is going to be the matureness of the tree. But even then, like this tree, this might even be young. Like this might even be 2022. This tree has been stunted unless it's a brand new build. So we have some shrubs down here. They don't look all that healthy either. So this could be an even newer property, but 2019 is going to be my official guess. Let's continue. I like the stone. I like the deeper, darker brick as well. It really stands out. Something about this property that I like. Now this is not a new build, is it? I don't think it's a new build. What year was this built? I mean, we'll still break it down, but I don't think it's a... Okay, so it's a 2019. It's 5 years. Okay, so it's non-owner occupied at the moment, or essentially, maybe it was at some point, but it's vacant at the moment. So we're not going to see it in its full glory, at least from my opinion. And that's why whenever we're trying to sell a property, we try to keep as much furniture in the house so people can visualize what it's actually going to look like when it's all said and done. So you have the office right here on the right hand side. So again, the size of the room isn't always appreciated without furniture. So again, the reason that we're gonna keep looking at this because in all of our other breakdowns so far, we've found a home that has been furnished. this is a good opportunity for us to focus on a property that hasn't been furnished, so we get an idea of how to make sense of what we're looking at. So here we have the breakfast area, so the breakfast nook. You have a window to your neighbors over here with your curtains, not curtains. Quite open. You have a quite open kitchen. I do like all the counter space here. Now this is an electric range here, so that means that they probably don't have gas in this particular home. Now that over there, you know what? That was actually the dining room. Was it? Which is yeah, so that would be more. This might be well, I guess you could decide if you want that to be the dining area over here or this over here. You get to decide that. You have your sink, you have your quartz countertop, you have your backsplash. Everything looks pretty neutral color, so no harm, no foul. You have hardwood floors. You're gonna have quite a few windows out here, so you're gonna get some light into the property. This is a unique layout. So what makes it quite unique is where the stairs are located, because typically what you're used to seeing is your living space over here. So what this has created with the way that the stairs have been laid out, you have another hallway. So you would have the hallway and expected to have a hallway right at the entrance. So okay, so this is that same hallway. So as you're going down this hallway, you could either pull off to the left to get into this dining area, and there's the kitchen, or you could pull off to the right to get to your office. So there's that same hallway. That's interesting. I'm not used to seeing that many homes with this layout. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm also not sold on it at the moment. I'm just thinking, how practical would that be? But let's continue. Now, given the size of this room, this looks like a primary bedroom, and this is probably facing the backyard. So I can kind of see it over here. So this is facing the backyard. I don't see the entrance to it though. This one's a little bit hard to pin down. Okay, so I guess where we're standing right here is the entrance into the room. So as we enter, you see the primary bedroom, and you see the primary bath here. So you have a standing shower and you have a tub as well. What's interesting is that they put this shower over here a little bit away from the tub. So that's an interesting choice. So what's in here? There's the toilet over here. No, the toilet's right here. So I'm used to seeing this over here and the toilet over here. This is an interesting design. I wonder who did this. You have your large closet. This is another room. So this is upstairs from what I'm looking at. Okay, so this is a room right at the center on the top side of the home. You have your other rooms. Again, it's a little bit challenging to kind of really see the layout because it's not furnished. Or the layout you can see, but more of what it could be. That's what becomes a bit challenging to really appreciate the size of the rooms, what you could do with it. Our minds are not that creative, or at least mine isn't, to where you can't really formulate what the room could actually look like unless you actually see something there. Gosh, this looks like a new house. How is it 2019? How is this a 2019? 1 second. All right, so stunning like new owner home, one owner home, my goodness. Enjoy a wealth of amenities, including a community pool, serene lake. flanked off entry, enclosed by French doors, private study, built-in bookcase, handsome nailed-down floorwork. Handsome hardwood floors. Come on, guys. Spacious kitchen features, stainless steel appliances, upgraded gas. How is this a gas? This is not a gas cooktop. It's not gas. I feel like I'm missing something. I don't think this is the same house. Ideal for entertaining. Okay. Okay. So yeah, this is not a wraparound breakfast bar. Is this it? Interesting. Now, again, what makes me think that this is actually a new build altogether is fine. I can take them taking really good care of it, but I don't see a lot of owners adding sod like this. This looks recently added. The sod that's been added here looks recently added. You still have the sand lines. You still have the. That's interesting. Okay, well, we're gonna buy it nonetheless. We spent too much time on it already. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at some information before we do our breakdown because it's gonna make it a little bit easier. All right, so we know that we're in Fort Worth, pretty obvious, and we also know Fort Worth, means Tarrant County. So we're in Tarrant County. This is built in 2019. Now, since I'm gonna believe them that it's a one-owner home. Essentially, there's been one property owner, which makes this 5 years old. Based off of the condition of the home, which looks, to their credit, straight up brand new, I don't think there's going to be a ton potentially wrong with this house for a couple of years. So if this has been a 5-year-old property, then you're looking at a few things that might come up. The first thing that's going to come up in the near future, or let me phrase that, just the future, not the near future, is maybe water heater issues. Your HVAC's going to have some room to run. Your foundation at this point may or may not have settled. I don't foresee there being a big issue based off of how the property is maintained. I think that they've probably watered the foundation at appropriate times, especially when it got super hot. So I don't see a ton of potential things going wrong with this property. Now, some of this we would need to look at the type of builder or the builder who built this to get a bit more comfort. But we'll continue. Again, 2019 is relatively new, quite new for a home, especially in this good of a shape, this condition. Taxes, don't get married to this number. This number is going to change. We're going to do a more accurate analysis. The taxes being here just is a good number to see, if you will, but this is not going to be the taxes that you ultimately pay. This is the taxes that the homeowner right now pays based off of their exemptions and also the assessed value that they have on this property. The value that they're going to market with, this 450, is what we call the market value. The market is ultimately what's going to decide what the market value is. So this home could very easily sell for 450. It could sell for 440. It could sell for 460. We don't know yet. But right now it's being marketed for 450. The assessed value is what the county appraisal district uses to charge you taxes with. And we'll talk about this more moving on. But that assessed value is usually going to be less. So here again, don't get married to this $8,900. We're going to see what we're ultimately going to pay as new purchasers or new owners of this property without assuming some exemptions into the property. Bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 2 full bath and 1 half bath. 2,700 square feet, and you're looking at the lot size of just shy over 1/8 of an acre, so 0.131. All right, so we have the normal stuff. We're not going to really call it out. What is going to be important for us is the association fees. What HOA fees are we expected to pay? This appears to be, most likely it's going to be, this could be biannual, because $200 is not bad. It's not bad at all. but I don't foresee that being the case. $200 seems kind of low, actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a biannual charge, but we'll see that further on. Use of facilities, architecture, levels, unexempted tax, occupant, owner, county, semi-annual. Boom, there it is. Yeah, it seems a little bit low. So it's going to be essentially $400 for your HOA. All right, so pre-owned. You have some green energy efficient stuff. A lot of the rest of the information is not too important to me. What's more important for me is a few indicators like the year built, the amount that we're paying in homeowners association, the size of the property, and that type of information is more important to me at this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct a little plan. We're going to put a plan together. We're going to give ourselves 3 different ways to purchase this property. We're going to finance this. Now, this Loan Clarity Advisor, this is linked down below. Make sure you check it out. This was created by Win the House You Love, which is a YouTube channel here on YouTube by our good friend Kyle Seagraves that created this tool. Now, this tool is one that we use with all of our clients whenever we're doing breakdowns, whenever we're doing deep dives to help them better make real estate decisions, or make better real estate decisions is the best way of saying it. Now, if you're a little bit we could use estimates, but we want to get a little bit more exact because we know what we're doing. So if you're following along, I do suggest that you go ahead and use the exact amounts, because it's going to give you more accurate information, because we can input the information a little bit closer to what the actual cost is going to be, as opposed to estimating. All right, so we have the purchase price for this property in Tarrant County, which we're talking about Fort Worth, is $450. My goodness, $450,000. That's our purchase price. So we need to figure out what is our property taxes. What is our property tax liability? Now, we have what the present owner was paying in property taxes, but that's not going to be what we ultimately pay. It's going to be different. Oftentimes, it's going to be more. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Google and we're going to type in Fort Worth property tax rate. Now we want to go directly to the city website first to see if they give us the actual percentage. And they don't. They do not. All right, so let's go to the Tarrant County website, which it'll give us a lot. Don't get intimidated. Don't back out on me now. This is normal. This is going to get much more manageable, I promise. So we know how to guide our way home here. So we're going to use this table, which at first sight, it looks exhausting. At first sight, it could get intimidating, but don't let that be the case with you. Understanding property taxes, once you understand them, they're not that bad. But once you really understand them, you're going to save a lot of money, right? So right now, just hang in there with me. Let's talk a little bit through property taxes so we can get to the other side and make accurate assessments on the purchase of this home. So when it comes to property taxes, let's understand a few basic principles. Number one, property taxes in the state of Texas are high. I cannot hide that fact. That's just the thing. That's a trade-off of not having state income tax. But property taxes are a real deal, a real thing. Texas has the 6th highest property tax rate in the country, New Jersey leading the way at number 1. So understand that. The second thing to understand is that you're paying property taxes on the property that you own. The moment that you don't own that property is the moment that you stop paying property taxes, right? So you're paying property taxes. It's a way of life. Let's accept it. Let's move on. The third thing to understand here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is that there's up to 5 numbers that we need to find. There's 5 rates that we need to look at so we can add them together and multiply it times the assessed value of our home. So essentially, it's not just one number that we're looking for. No, that would be too easy. We're not just looking for one property tax rate. That would make way too much sense. We need to break things up slightly. So we're looking for up to 5 numbers. So up to 5 property tax rates that we're going to add together to make this work for us. So number one, sorry, I got a notification from Amazon. I don't know what I purchased. So there's up to 5 numbers that we're looking for. The next three that I'm going to share real quick, they come into play in every city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex without exception. And then there's going to be 2 that potentially are going to show themselves in a lot of the cities. I can already tell you that in Fort Worth, we're going to use all 5 just because I know Fort Worth, and it's just going to be the case. So we're going to look for 5 for Fort Worth. But if you're buying in Crowley as an example, Burleson, Benbrook, Mansfield, wherever, you're potentially not going to have these two things that I'm going to share. So the first 3 that we're going to look for are going to be the city tax rate, the county tax rate, and the ISD tax rate, so the school tax rate. Those are the 3 that we're going to find regardless. We need to find those. The other 2 that potentially will show up in Fort Worth, they're going to show up. I can already tell you that, but depending on the city that you're looking for, the other 2 are going to be the higher education tax. So think of community colleges, or the hospital network tax. So think of, if you're in Dallas, think of Parkland Hospital. If you're in Fort Worth, think of JPS, John Peter Smith Health Network or Healthcare Center. So those are the 5 things that we're looking for. Those are the 5 numbers that we're looking for. So again, I did kind of, just because I know Fort Worth so well, I know that we're going to have these 5 numbers. So we need to find those. We need to find Fort Worth City. So we have Fort Worth City. Then we're going to find Tarrant County, which is where the city is. Then we're going to find the ISD, which is right here. And then because it's Fort Worth, we're going to also add the JPS Health Network, again, the John Peter Smith Health Network, and the community colleges. We're going to add these numbers together. So I'm going to take out my calculator real quick, and we're going to do this math. Again, it's not complicated. It's once you know what you're looking for, it's pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 0.6725 plus, we're going to go and find the county, which is Tarrant County up here, 0.1945 plus, we're going to go find the ISD, which is right here, 1.0624, and we're going to go and find the higher education, which is right here, 0.11217, and then we're going to finally go with the hospital network, 0.1945. And our property tax rates in the city of Fort Worth is 2.236%. 2.236%. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend, this is a pretend, we're going to pretend that this market value is the assessed value, which, trust me, it's not going to be. The assessed value is actually going to be less. So you're not going to be paying as much as you're going to see here in property taxes, at least for the first several years. In the future, most likely you will be paying this, what we're going to calculate here, because the assessed value, which again is going to be and oftentimes lower than the market value, is going to eventually, like, you're going to see both rise, right? So as real estate prices have been increasing. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 0.0223%, because remember 2.23% is what the property tax rate is. We're going to multiply that times the market value, which is going to put us of property taxes $10,035. That is a little bit different than the $8,900 here. So again, the true number, if you want to get the honest assessment here, the true number is going to be somewhere in the middle. I don't think that you're going to pay the same. Actually, I know you're not going to pay the same in property taxes as what's presently being paid, but I also know that you're not going to be paying this amount because we're using the market value of the home. So the true answer lies somewhere in the middle. And the more exemptions that you add, like the homestead exemption, or if you have disabilities, or if you are over 65, or if you have if you served in the military, there's exemptions that will lower your property tax rates along the way. And protesting your property taxes, by the way. Forgot about that. So if we divide that number by 12, we're looking at $836 with 25 cents as our monthly tax. Our homeowner's insurance, the premium per month, we're going to estimate. And to estimate, we usually use 0.75%, so less than 1%, so 0.75% times the value of the home. So we're going to put 0.00 to get the actual number. 75 times 450, the value of the home. So per year, Eli, what's up? Thanks for dropping by. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. For the the yearly premium of the homeowner's insurance is $33.75. So we're going to divide that by 12, and we're going to get the monthly, which is going to be $281.25. Oh, wait a minute. Have I been using that camera all this time? Oh. Nobody said anything. I kept looking over here. My bad. Okay, so hey again. Sorry, now you don't get the side profile. That was interesting. All right, so what is it? 281. Oh, I know what's happening. But why is it happening? Why is that happening? When I type, it pulls in this monitor. And that's why it's toggling back and forth. That's so interesting. All right, HOA, we said that the HOA was $400 since it was $198 semi-annually. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 400 divided by 12, and we're going to put $33 here. Now this, although we are adding it into the budget, this is something that is not going to be paid in your monthly mortgage payment. So just know that that's going to be collected aside. That's going to be collected at the beginning of the year directly from them, and it's going to do nothing to your mortgage payment. So we're going to build 3 loan cases. We're going to give ourselves 3 different ways to buy this property. We're going to go with conventional 5%, FHA 5%, and we're going to go back to conventional and put 20%. Now the reason that we're doing 20% is I want to illustrate a big difference between paying what's called mortgage insurance and not paying mortgage insurance. So let's talk about conventional and FHA. Conventional and FHA loans are the most common ways that home buyers finance a home. So they're using a conventional loan or they're using an FHA loan. Now, if you're going to get a conventional loan, the minimum down payment is going to be 3%. So you do need a down payment with a conventional loan, and the minimum down payment is going to be 3%. Now, there are some restrictions on if you are going to be able to qualify for those 3%, but for the most part, 3% down payment, by the way, not interest rate. So for the most part, you will have access to 3% down a payment option with the conventional loan. The minimum down payment for an FHA loan, this loan over here, is 3.5%. Those are going to be the differences. So you have conventional, you have an FHA. Now, one of the reasons that if you've ever heard, hey, you need 20% down to purchase a home, one of the reasons that that's the case, or people are saying that, is because people believe that let me rephrase that. If you don't put 20% down on the purchase of a home, you're paying what's called mortgage insurance. So if you put 5%, 10%, 15%, you're paying mortgage insurance. If you have a conventional loan, that mortgage insurance eventually goes away. So after you become 20% owner, equity owner in the property that you own, then at least you own 20% of your property, then the conventional, the mortgage insurance goes away. So I'll show you that break even with that conventional loan. With an FHA loan, the mortgage insurance never goes away. So you're paying that for the life and the term of the loan. So that's a big distinction. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 5% down over here, 5% down over here, and 20% down over here to give you the math. All right, we're going to say that all three financing options are going to be 30 years. And to get the interest rate, we're going to go to Google and we're going to find that. So we're going to go over here and we're going to type in, what are we going to say? What is the interest rate right now? Buying a home. Going to go to bank rate. And we're going to see that Friday, at the time of this recording, the average is 6.51. So 6.51, 6.51, 6.51. Now, in reality, the interest rate is going to be different if you get a conventional and an FHA, and certainly if you put 20% down. So generally, what you're going to see is this interest rate for your conventional 20% be slightly less than if you were to put 5% down. Your financing, so there's no reasons for it, but just kind of giving you a heads up. For our purposes today, we're gonna be fine using the same rate for all of them, but again, know that your conventional loan is gonna look a little bit different than your FHA loan and your conventional 20% down. But this is a good exercise for you to go through regardless, but it's gonna be an even better exercise that you go through this once you have some quotes from some lenders out there that will give you these numbers on what they're charging or what you could realistically expect. Now, when it comes to points is essentially you buying down the interest rate. So this interest rate that you get at 6.51, let's just say you buy 1 point, that'll probably bring it down to like 6.25% with the purchase of 1 point. You would think that purchasing 1 point would mean reducing it 1 entire percentage point, but that is not the case. So again, if you purchase one point here, it would be about 6.25% is what you would ultimately pay in interest rate. Now, with that being said, how much is a point? Well, if you're going to buy 1 point, you would be multiplying 1% times the loan value. So if you borrowed $400,000, that would be $4,000 right here. So 1% of the value of the home. So that's what 1 point would cost you. And then it kind of snowballs from there. So there's a certain break-even point where it just doesn't make sense to buy interest points. And at some point, yes, it does. It makes sense to buy points altogether. But there's a break-even point where it costs so much money to buy these points that it's not worth buying down the interest rate any longer. Which buying down interest rates is another way of saying that you're prepaying interest. That's essentially what you're doing. But anyway, again, if you're, I am a strong proponent of purchasing points, but there's a break even. You certainly don't want to buy all of the points because that's just very, very expensive and not worth it. Lender fees. You can add lender fees once you start getting those quotes. For our purposes today, we're going to keep it a little bit clean and not put any lender fees here, although you will have lender fees, but they just vary across the board. So that's once you get the quotes in hand, you're going to be able to change them up to whatever lender fees you have. Now, monthly mortgage insurance, this is something that you're going to be assessed because we didn't put 5% down. We didn't put 20% down in this loan and also this loan. So these two loans, you're going to see mortgage insurance numbers show up. With this loan, the conventional 20%, you're not going to see that show up at all because we bypassed that by putting 20% down. All right, so let's continue. So if you have extra payments to make, meaning if you want to make some additional payments on that loan, you can add them here, whether it's a monthly, whether it's a lump sum, you can add them here once you start making those extra payments. Now, those extra payments, make sure that you're making them to principal and specify, I want these made to principal. You don't want them to interest because the principal is what's going to ultimately drive down the amount that you pay in interest. So any extra any extra payments, make them to principal by all means. Conventional. All right, so let's compare the loans. This will give you a visual representation of the true cost, the actual cost of these loans. So you can slide this little bar as many years into the future as you want. So after 10 years, you see that if you would have put 20% down as opposed to the other loans, more specifically this one, because this tends to be the most expensive one, you would have saved $73,000. Now, here's the deal. I recognize that to put 20% down is a heck of a lot of money. $90,000. We don't all have that cash ready to go to purchase a home. And if this doesn't, if you're not in a position to put 20% down, so it's not even an option, don't worry about it. You're able to purchase the home with as little as 3% down if you go conventional, for as little as 3.5% if you go FHA. You do not need that 20% down. So don't feel bad, and also don't feel, don't feel any other way. Just have this information because it's here, but also take it for what it is. If you're not in a position to put 20% down, then it doesn't matter how much it would have saved you. You don't have that option anyway. Now, if you do have the option, if you do have that disposable income or that income in order to purchase at 20% down, then you have also a decision to make. Is it worth for me to save $73,000 in these next 10 years? Or can I find a better vehicle for these, the difference between whatever this ends up being, like what, $67,000? Can I find a better vehicle for these $67,000 to where they exceed this amount that I'm saving? The answer is no. Then put it into the home. It would make a little bit more sense then. But if you have another vehicle that can, multiply that over, and you have a better use of that $67,000 between the differences, then by all means go and execute on that. So whatever accelerates your money a little bit faster, that's what you should be doing. Now this gives you a chart to back it up so you can visually see it. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on this loan cost because the chart actually speaks for itself and says a lot more. But what I will say is that when you're looking at after these 10 years, you're going to see what the loan cost of that would be under the conventional 5%, FHA 5%, and 20%. And you're going to see the mortgage interest that gets paid by the conventional, at least for the first 10 years, be this amount and this amount for the FHA loan. But something to note is that you have a finance mortgage insurance that you have to pay for an FHA loan, which amounts to 1.725% of the loan value. So you're essentially paying another fee on top of the fee, just as a heads up. Now, if you want to go and see what 30 years would look like, what the actual cost would be after those 30 years, this is the cost of this loan, the cost to finance this property, which ends up being $570 here, $605 here, and $460 here. Now notice that this is just the cost. This has nothing to do with the principal. This is just how much it cost you to purchase this, how much the loan cost you when you factor in the interest, when you factor in the stuff, when you factor in the interest and the other fees associated to purchasing. Now let's look at payment. I like to break it down first by the first year, because the first year is going to look a little bit different than your 10th year, your 20th year, and your 30th year. But when you look at your monthly payments, especially on year one, you're going to notice something very, very shocking. That shocking thing is going to be how little goes to principal. And it doesn't matter what type of loan you go with, whether you're conventional, FHA, USDA, whatever the case may be, whatever loan you have, you're going to be shocked at how little goes to principal and how much goes to interest. That is shocking. At least it was to me. I don't know if it was shocking to you, but it is astounding. Now, if you're finding value in this video, I always forget to ask this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That's going to really help this message go far and wide and reach the audience that it needs to reach. Back to the video. So one of the things that you can do just to at least see how much is going to principal, how much is going to interest, is you can go to the amortization table, which the title company, the lender, will actually give you at closing. But here you can just type that information and it'll give you that amount here. Notice that this payment is not going to change because it's factoring in these numbers already. But what is going to change is the allocation between the principal and interest. At the beginning, again, you see such little goes to principal and how much goes to interest. But as you start making payments down the road, you're going to start seeing this number in the principal column increase. You're going to see this going up. You're going to see this going down. So that means that you're paying more towards principal towards the end of your loan, which is going to drive the interest that you're paying less and less, which is pretty cool. Now, the sad reality is that, again, at the beginning, it's like you're pushing a stone up a hill. it's a little bit challenging because you see such little goes to principal, and then you see the ending balance just barely trickle, just barely make movements. It can feel a little bit defeating, especially if you're putting that much in the principal and interest alone. So that could feel a little bit demoralizing, but don't lose hope. All right, so you see that the monthly payment for year one for this particular loan would be about $4,069 for conventional, $4,080 for FHA, and for the 20% down option, you're looking at $3,428. Now let's fast forward to 12 years from now that you've been making these payments. You're going to see several things. You're going to see that your monthly payment is going to have change a little bit, but what you're going to see here is that your mortgage insurance number goes away. And here with the FHA, it continues to go. All right, so I just want to do that little brief assessment here. And what I like about this particular equity column here, what I like about this is that outside of it looking pretty dope and cool, you get to see at any point in time how much of the property you own, right? So here on year 20, you own that much. In year 25, you own 69% of the home, 69% of the home, 74% of the home, depending on the type of loan that you got. So it gives you a really quick calculation, a very visual calculation to see how much home ownership you actually have, how much equity you own from the loan itself. This is not factoring in appreciation, which would help you out even more. Now, when it comes to the loan details, we don't really get into these numbers specifically because we've addressed them above. But what I want to show you is the break-even point from when the mortgage insurance falls off on your conventional loan. So it would take about 10 years and 4 months for the mortgage insurance to fall off. Just from a math perspective, this is not factoring in the amount of this is not factoring in how much your home appreciates in value. This is only factoring in the math. And this simulation here, or this breakdown here, I like doing this because it gives us an idea of how to compare how to compare buying a home versus renting a home. So whenever you're buying a home, you have, let's just go through this example. So let's just say we bought this home, this Fort Worth home that we've been trying to purchase for $450,000. Now, after 10 years, let's just pretend for these next 10 years, we have a housing need, which we will, assuming we're still alive for those 10 years. So we have a decision. Do we buy this house at $450,000 or do we rent a like property so we can live in that home? So do we buy or do we rent? Well, we're going to make a little simulation here where after these 10 years, we will have appreciated in value, let's say 3%. That's the appreciation rate year over year. The cost to sell, let's say that the cost to sell our property at the end of the rainbow is going to be 5%. That's going to factor in commissions for real estate agents. That's going to factor in title work. That's going to factor in my cost to sell this property. And let's just say that tax increases per year, let's go to 3%. So over these 3 tax increases per year, it's going to go year over year, the tax increase. So we get to see that. And that our homeowner's insurance continues to rise year over year. And so we're going to give that a 3%. All right, so that's what we're going to say. Now, after these 10 years, our appreciation is going to be 154. It doesn't matter how much we finance or how we finance this property. The appreciation that we gained is 154,000. Our cost to sell is going to be the same regardless of how we finance at 30,000. And our loan cost will change depending on how we finance ourselves, because you're going to see that the conventional loan cost us 283,000, FHA cost us 291,000, conventional cost us 218,000. That was our cost to sell. That was the cost of the loan. That's how much it cost us to finance this purchase. Now, property taxes and homeowners insurance are going to stay the same, along with homeowners association. So these numbers do not change. It just because it has to do more with the property than how you finance the property. And as you can see, over those 10 years, the cost for you to live in this home was about $316,000 or $324,000 if you use the FHA, or $251,000 to $251,000 with the $251,000 with the conventional 20% down. Now, if you were to go as a comparison, if you were to rent a similar property in Fort Worth at this value of $2,625, so if the rent that you were paying was $2,625,000 with an annual increase of 3% per year, your cost to live would have been $361,000 over those 10 years. And you can make this calculation, let's just say for 15 years, what would that have been? So you also get that breakdown here. You see that the cost for you to live those 15 years in this property would have been $433, FHA $445, conventional $350, and then if you would have been renting in those same 15 years, the amount that you would have paid in rent would have been $585,000. So this gives you a good baseline, a good consideration on if I want to purchase or if I want to rent. It gives us an idea of what the actual cost for our housing would be within those years. Now, if you found value in this video, please make sure to hit that like button, and also don't forget to subscribe. We do breakdowns on all the cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. This one was about Fort Worth. We went into all the regions in Fort Worth, the 3 things to consider when you're buying, which is the commute, the lifestyle that you're looking for, and the budget that you have. And we also went into different financing options for the purchase of your Fort Worth home. So if there's any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the chat below. Now, if there's a city that we haven't covered yet that you would like to see, also let us know. And if you're looking for representation to buy or to sell here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, also our contact information is down below. Don't forget to reach out. Outside of that, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.